so much for joining us on the Women in Mortgages podcast for the second time. Lisa, do you want to tell us a bit about you and how you started in mortgages as an introduction first?
Yeah, so my name's Lisa McCarton. I own Beespoke Mortgages. I worked for a mainstream bank for 14 years, and during COVID, they just wasn't very flexible with me. Where I've got two small children, they were 2.5 and 6 months at the time.
Oh, wow, young.
So I know, yeah, they were really young. It was hard to try and juggle everything. Work wanted me to work lots of late nights and evenings because nursery was closed. So I just thought this isn't for me. And I handed my notice in the September. I left in the October with 1 month's salary and a £1,500 a month nursery bill. And I've never looked back. 5 years this year.
Well, well done. You've obviously done amazing.
Thank you.
To kind of get where you are, because I know it is such a juggle, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you came straight out of bank, straight into self-employed.
Yeah.
Wow. Well,
with a 2.5-year-old and a 6-month-old.
Well, definitely. Like, you've done amazing to do that, because that is not an easy feat. Even just coming out of bank straight into whole of market alone is hard, let alone doing it on a self-employed basis.
I wouldn't have it any other way though.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So what have you found? So obviously you've got two young kids and they're still both quite young.
5 and 8, yeah.
Yeah. So what have you kind of found challenging so far in the industry, like doing the job? And
the rate changes with little notice. System maintenance for systems that we do use, that is difficult. I do every pick up and every drop off every day for the children, so my hours are limited. To then have systems down or lenders pulling rates with an hour or two notice is really difficult. You can find yourself working at midnight.
It's been really difficult. That has been really difficult, I think. Full stop, for people that have got caring responsibilities. It's like, how can you juggle your time when lenders give two hours, an hour's notice at a rate being withdrawn? I
don't think they take us as brokers especially mums, into consideration that we are juggling a million other things in the background.
I think there's definitely been a lack of consideration from the lenders over the last few years on that point, definitely. And I think it's something they all need to get better at, because some of them are all right, aren't they? But so many of them are just not even getting much better at it.
No, they're literally giving us no notice, and they're like, rate's going at 8 o'clock. And then the system crashes because every broker in the whole of the UK is trying to get that rate. That is tricky.
And having younger kids run around, doesn't make it easy.
No, and they say, "Mummy, are you on your laptop again?" And I'm like, "Yeah, because if Mummy's not on a laptop, then this person's not getting their house." So they do understand that, work is really important. But then I get to do all the good things, like I do every pick up and every drop off. I go on every school trip. If they have a mass at school, I get to go to all of those things, which if I was in a 9-to-5 job, I wouldn't be able to do. So there's pros and cons to both sides.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's definitely been, my children are older, like, as you know, mine are 17 and almost 15. So I've kind of struggled all the way through now to where they don't really need childcare anymore. But it has been a real juggle over the years. And I think for me, actually, what I feel like I've missed out on a little bit is that when my children were really little, there wasn't a work from home. Like, it just wasn't a thing, particularly in this industry.
I've got COVID to thank for that. The only thing we've got COVID to thank for, but it's give us a bit of flexibility with working routines, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Like, it wasn't, I was unusual to even work part-time and do this job, let alone if I'd worked from home some of it. Like, I think it would have been so unheard of, because so many clients were still doing face-to-face and not wanting to do telephone or Zoom calls. I mean, I'd never even done a Zoom call with a client until COVID. So I think definitely, and I feel like my children, I just felt like I was rushing constantly.
Same.
From
I
the
feel like
office
I don't
to
stop.
school, from the office to school, office school, back forth, and there is no real let up, and it's really draining for women.
I feel like my laptop's in the car with me constantly. Wherever I am, the laptop is with me, so I take it in the car, and then when I'm at school, run packed up, I'll catch up on my emails, or if the kids have an activity, my laptop's with me.
But it's like you said, there are the perks that you still get to be at all those things with your children, which is the fun bit, isn't it? That at least we get to do that. There's more flexibility to be able to do that now. I remember when I used to go to, like, if I come in late and go to a school play, I'd be like, it's dragging on, I've got to go, I've got to get back to the office, I've got an appointment. And I've been to so many places where I had to leave early, and I'm like, that was just not nice for my children. But I'm so pleased that for women now, that actually there is more flexibility and there is more awareness of this issue.
I had a friend who told me once, and it's always stuck with me, you get 18 summers with your children before they're grown up. And it really, really stuck with me. So when I was working for a bank and there was no real flexibility with the children and how hard it is to juggle being a mum, and not just being a mum, working, etc., that gave me like the kick to say, do you know what, you can go out and do this on your own, so you don't miss out on those 18 summers with the children.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, I bet you don't get hardly any pushback from the clients, do you? So it's not them that are causing the problem.
Never, ever. No. If I say to a client, I've had a couple of clients ask me, do I work weekends? And just because of childcare, I don't work weekends. I've got a team of 5 of us now, so we'll always accommodate a client. But I say, no, I've got 2 small children, and they'll 9 times out of 10 they message me back saying, can you do Thursday? Yeah, I can. Because people are understanding. We're not just brokers, we're humans, we're parents. Yeah, we've got little people that rely on us.
Yeah, definitely. No, I definitely agree. Yeah, I mean, it is nicer that I actually don't think, I think for a lot of women, they are scared to, if they say no, the client's going to be the one they lose. Whereas actually in the reality, I don't think that actually happens. Like you said, I think most clients are really understanding and really accommodating. And it's not that side that I think causes women trying to work this job a problem. It's that
I think they've got more respect for you, that you'll stand up and say, do you know what? No, I haven't, because I've got people, children that rely on me and they need me. I think they then understand, you know what? She's a human at the end of this, not just a processor.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that, 100%. And I think it's unfortunately, it's the other industry pressures that actually make it more difficult for us. Like we were saying, the lenders pulling the rates with very little notice make it really, really difficult for women in this role to juggle caring responsibilities and deal with getting their clients' mortgage applications submitted on time.
Yeah, exactly.
And that puts you in a position where you have to choose sometimes, and it's really hard, isn't it, having to choose to put your family life on the back burner so that you can get that client a mortgage. It's a really difficult choice, and I think unless you're someone who's working with those caring responsibilities, you probably don't quite get how difficult that can be on certain days.
It's the juggle. I don't think people, unless they're in that situation, realise what the juggle is like. The juggle of mum life and being a businesswoman and working and running a house. I've got a child with additional needs, and having a child with additional needs as well as another child. Some days you don't even know if you're coming or going. Some days at the end of the day, I sit in silence just to gather my thoughts, because it's a million miles an hour and you just need time to gather your thoughts on the day.
Yeah, definitely. Well, as you know, my daughter's got additional needs as well, so I know we've talked about that before, but I do think that brings in like another kind of juggle,
because you don't know what you're going to wake up to in the morning.
No, you don't know how they're going to behave each morning. You don't know what that's going to bring to your day. We also then have all those extra meetings and school attendance and hospital and doctors and all those other things that parents with SEND children have added into their lives that you don't have if you don't have a SEND child. So it's I mean, I've said to you before, I think you're doing so well to be doing so successfully in your business when you have all that home life stuff going on as well. It's definitely not easy.
Thank you.
Yeah, it does. And I know it does. I think there are days when I know I've definitely thought, I don't know why I'm doing this to myself.
Sometimes I think, wow, how do I do it? But we do it, don't we? We just get up, dust ourselves off and carry on. We don't know any different. I've got friends that say to me, how do you cope some days? And I'm like, I don't know any different. This is normal for me. So all these extra medical appointments with all these different specialists, it's normal. I don't know any different.
Yeah, no, and I think that is the really important thing to say, isn't it? Because I know I've been told, like you just said, I don't know how you do what you do every day. And at times that has made me feel quite bad, because I feel like you said, I don't feel like I'm doing anything extraordinary. I'm just trying to cope. And some days I cope better than others, and the days I don't
But that's okay. We shouldn't be ashamed to admit that. And sometimes I put on a brave face and think, I am having a hard day. It's difficult, but we shouldn't be afraid to admit that. No. I think it takes a special kind of person, especially a mum, because we take a lot of responsibility, to have a child with additional needs.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that, you know, I feel like I just want to say to all the women out there that feel like maybe they're not doing great or they are struggling with this, you aren't doing anything wrong. It is just hard, right? That's how I look at it. It is hard. It is hard to do this job and have a young family. It is hard to do this job, have a young family, and then have a child with additional needs on top of that. It's really hard. And just because
I think we need to cut ourselves some slack sometimes. Yeah, definitely, because we're all doing okay in our own way. Some days are better than others for people, but we do need to cut ourselves some slack because we're doing an amazing job.
Yeah, definitely. And I think so. And I think, you know, if you're a woman out there trying to do this role and do this juggle, you are doing so well if you are just making it to the end of each week. You know. I mean, obviously we touched on lenders could be better with their timescales. Do you think there's anything else the industry could do to make it easier for mums?
Sometimes, like underwriting, if you've got a complex case and you don't pick that case up until later in the evening, I think maybe like a designated person that we could maybe speak to from each lender, you know, who does like a twilight shift. I do think that would be a good idea. I mean, it doesn't happen often, but, you know, a twilight shift would be good for the lenders.
Someone mentioned that on a different call I was on about when they were talking about rate pools and stuff and how difficult that is. And when, you know, when the lenders are saying we're pulling rates at 8, 9, 10 p.m, midnight, and then they shut their phone lines at 5, it makes it extremely difficult for us to, if we've got a question about that case before we need to submit it, well, we can't talk to anybody. And if you, like you said, if you haven't picked that message up until after 5 o'clock because of your other caring responsibilities, you're then stuck with, well, do I submit it anyway and hope that it's okay? Do I maybe have a support network where I could ask and hope someone knows the answer? Like our group, or do you just not submit it and you don't secure that rate? And it puts you in a really difficult position. So I do think the lenders really need to think about if they are pulling rates after hours, like you said, having someone that's actually still available to take calls after hours then.
Even if it's till like 8 o'clock and like that's the cut off, I do think that is needed, because sometimes you think, do I just put it through the system and hope for the best, but then it gets declined and then you've got to rewrite your whole advice and that's just causing more work for you? Or do you wait and then you're going to have a really unhappy client because rates have gone up? Because you know how volatile the market is at the minute. One day they're up, the next minute they're down. The lenders don't know what they're doing, so how are we meant to juggle it?
It makes it really difficult, doesn't it? Do you have any tips then for any mums working in mortgages that might feel like they're struggling, or people who are thinking about coming in to mortgages as a mum?
Believe in yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
Your biggest critic is yourself. If I can do it, anybody can. You know, we can all do it. We've just got to believe in ourselves. I think women should support women. We should cheer each other on. There's enough business to go about. We should 100%. Never put each other down. It's a hard enough industry. Still quite male dominated, I would say. I take commercial more so than residential, which is, you know, a realm that we're in as well together. I'd just say cheer each other on and just believe in yourself, because if you set your mind to something, you can do it.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I think you're right. Like, it's just having belief that you actually can do it, and then having people behind you that are cheering you on. And I love cheering other women on. Like you said, there's more than enough business here that we don't need to be fighting or being not supportive with each other. It's a tough market, and it's been really tough particularly these last 5 years. And I think anyone that's come into the market since COVID, particularly this side of it, if you are managing now, you are going to be fine, because this is the hardest. I've been doing it 20 years. This is the hardest 5 years I've ever experienced in this industry. And I worked through the 2008 recession, you know, so if you can manage now, if you're doing okay now, you are going to be fine.
Yeah, we'll be fine. I think we should be proud as well. Like my Isabel, bless her, she's only 8, and she says to me, I'm proud of you, mummy, because you help people get houses. You've got a really important job, haven't you? So she understands the work that we put in. And I said to her at Christmas, what do you want for Christmas? She said, I don't want anything because you work really hard, mummy.
Oh, that's so sweet.
So for them to understand how, you know, how hard we work goes to show, you know, if you want something in life, you've got to put the work in for it.
Yeah. And do you know what? I love this job. I love helping people get mortgages. It is just so fulfilling. Like, especially helping, you know, first-time buyers are particularly lovely, aren't they? Because they come in quite often so green, they don't really understand it, and helping them walk through that and come out the other side in their new home is just so rewarding.
And then they start families, and then they recommend their friends and family to you, and they get married, and it's just a lovely cycle to see.
Yeah, it is. And you know what? It's really interesting because I am just at my 20 years. So I am starting to have a few clients that I've been doing for 20 years, and now this is their last mortgage and they're ending. And I'm a bit like, well, this is really nice that I've seen them go through this whole life cycle and now
journey,
and they're right at the end now and they're going to be finished. But there's a part of me that's really sad that I'm not going to get to see any more of that person's life.
Like an end of an era.
Yeah, it is, because like, you know, you see them every 2 to 5 years and then all of a sudden they're no longer there, and you're like, but I want to know what's going on. Can you just check in with me randomly anyway, please? Because I think you do get really invested in them and their lives and helping them and watching them grow and, you know, their lives change in different directions, and being there to support that is just such a great job.
It is an amazing job, to be fair. So rewarding.
Yeah, it is. And I think that does really generally outweigh the tougher times,
the hard
that we have. And I think it's something that we all need to hold on to sometimes. You know, those wins, those ones where we do really well and the clients are really happy, you need to really celebrate them, because I think it can be really easy to get stuck into that negative spiral of this has been hard. But actually we need to remember every day there are good things happening as well. You know,
especially the ones like where the lenders, where they've been to another broker and they're told they can't get a mortgage, and then you get a mortgage in the day that they complete. I've cried with clients where they've been told that they can't, and then I ring them and say, you've got a mortgage offer here, and they're like, no, we've not. I'm like, yeah, you are, if you're buying a house.
Yeah, and we've celebrated, like, you know, we've popped open Prosecco in the office when some people have completed, because like you said, it's that kind of feeling, isn't it? It wasn't easy. They didn't think they could do it, and then we got them there. And it's that really nice feeling of we helped that person realize a dream. And I think but that's where I think sometimes also you get tugged in 2 different directions, right? Because you love your children and you want to be there for them and you want to be in your home life, but then equally you're so invested in your clients and helping them that it makes it sometimes a very difficult place to be in the middle.
Yeah, it does.
But it is, I do think, like you said, I think, you know, belief in yourself and that you can do it. And I really believe if you're honest with clients about, like, you know, I am going to come back to you, but it's not going to be today because I've got this other stuff going on with my children. They are okay. Like you said,
they understand we've got a life outside of work.
Yeah.
Just like they have.
And I think sometimes it's not feeling brave enough to kind of set that expectation correctly with your client, that can sometimes set you into a position where you're feeling under all this extra pressure, when actually you could release a lot of that if you just said to your client, look, I'm going to come back to you in a couple of days because I've got some other stuff I need to deal with first. And I think most people are fine with that.
Yeah, you don't want to promise them something and then under-deliver. You'd rather under-deliver and overachieve, wouldn't you? So if you say you're going to do it in 2 days and get back to them in 24 hours, that looks much better than saying, I'll get back to you in 24 hours and it's actually 2 days.
Yeah.
So I always give myself a little bit of leeway on timescales, an extra day or so, just because I know I'll have it back to them within that time frame, if not sooner, and it looks better.
Yeah, I agree. I think, you know, setting realistic expectations when you're juggling is so important. Yeah. And like you said, giving yourself a little bit of leeway for something unexpected to come up, because I think that's what happens if you're juggling this job with your kids as well. There's always something unexpected thrown at you, whether like it's from home bug. Or from work, like a sickness bug or
Chicken
something
pox.
along those lines. Yeah, definitely. I mean, even like my team, so my kids were fine this week, but I had 4 of my team out with a sick bug in one day. Like, and so that put me right back, because I had to juggle making sure any urgent tasks that they needed to be done had been done. So it pushed back my workload. But because I've given myself more realistic expectations to my clients, because I know that there is stuff that gets thrown at you that you don't expect, the clients are still happy. So I think, you know, really that is a really good point, isn't it? That making sure that people do set realistic expectations.
Yeah, we've got to be kind to ourselves as well, because you know, we don't want to run ourselves into the ground where we'll be no use to anybody. No,
definitely not. And I think, you know, there's only so many hours in each day, right? So you have to.
We've got to eat and do a little bit of sleep, you know.
Yeah.
If we're lucky.
Yeah, a little bit of sleep is helpful, isn't it? How about, like, so we both do have quite stressful lives, yeah. So how do you chill out at the end of a day?
I used to work every evening, which wasn't good for me or my mental health, because I'd be working till 11 at night, and then I wouldn't be able to sleep because I'd been on my computer for too long. So in the new year, I made myself a promise that every night I log off and I go to the gym. I go to the gym at 7:30 every evening, and I do my workout. Then I go sauna, steam room, and for a swim. I go home about 10 o'clock and I'm in bed for 11, and I sleep straight through. I'm not waking up. My sleep's not disrupted, and I feel miles better from it. And then I just think if the task isn't done, it can wait till the next morning when I'm fresh again, rather than be sat in front of a computer screen till 11 o'clock at night, not being very productive.
Yeah. I mean, I found as well, as I've got older, the later I work, the more mistakes I make. So I only have to correct, like I'll send clients emails and some of the figures will be around the wrong way. And so I only have to spend the next morning correcting that stuff anyway. So it was pointless me staying late to do it. So I think, you're right, stepping away and stepping off and being more productive the next day is so much better than just trying to struggle through.
I feel so much better in myself though for doing that, because I have self-care is most important. I bet. I really try and switch off at a reasonable time as well, as much as I can. I like having a I walk home from work, which I think really helps, that kind of 15-minute just cleared head, bit of fresh air, and then I quite like having a trip drink, the CBD oil drink, kind of like just to take the edge off a little bit when you get in. That's not a glass of wine every night, so it's quite nice to just have one of those. When I go to and from the gym, I put my music on full blast. It might be a bit of Whitney or Mariah or whoever it may be, and I sing and I feel so much better from it.
I bet, because it is just it is that, I think sometimes switching from work to home is quite tough when it's a completely different environment. And I don't know about you, like with my daughter, I don't always know what I'm going to get when I walk through the door either. So it's having to try and be ready for whatever mood or whatever else has gone on in her day that she then needs to offload onto me. So it's having that period of time where you just kind of get that, right, I'm switching into mum mode.
Because it can take hours for them to tell you what's gone on. Like I know for Isabel, if she's had a bad day at school, she might not tell me what's gone on until bedtime. Well, that then delays bedtime. And then Charlie, her brother's like, well, Isabel's up late. Why am I not up late? So I do start bedtime routine about 7:15, just so then I know that they're in bed. That when I go out, then, they're settled and there's no kicking off. Because you know what it's like, if they need to come down from, whatever's happening that day, it can take some time, which is difficult, and they hurt the people that they're closest to, so they do lash out to us. But we've got to remember, we're not just business women and mum, we're people as well, so we have to take that time to ourselves. You do. You have to take some time out for yourself to just give yourself some self-care and look after your own mental well-being. And we're no use to anybody.
No, we wouldn't be. No, and I think that's a really important thing for people out there that might be working all these hours under the sun to try and juggle everything, that you do need to take some time out. It just doesn't, you'll burn yourself out.
You will.
And that doesn't help anybody.
No, we'll be no use to anybody.
No, definitely not. Well, it's been really nice talking to you.
And you.
Yeah, and I think hopefully that's helped some people if they listen, to just see, what we're doing to try and juggle this crazy mortgage world with being, and
we are just normal people. We've got no superpowers. We are just normal working mums that are just trying to juggle everything that life throws at us. So if we can do it, anybody can do it.
I 100% agree. It's just about a little bit of organisation and then being prepared for anything. Really.
Yes.
And not getting thrown by having setbacks.
No. Kids being off school, the worst one is when school rings you. I'm just ringing you to let you know Charlie's bumped his head or he's done this, and you think, have I got to pick him up? Because I'm thinking, where am I going to fit this in?
That is the worst one. Hi, it's so-and-so school. Don't worry, they're okay, but that's the call she's like.
Please don't ring me then. Don't ring me unless their arms hanging off. Do not ring me.
What is going on? But I mean, but then I do feel like in the role, it can be quite easy to move around quite quickly, right? Like if that happens, like, clients are quite understanding if you have to move appointments. You know, like we said, I think the clients aren't the problem here. It's sometimes the bit of the wider industry and the lenders that are causing that extra pressure. Clients generally are really good with unexpected changes in circumstances.
Yeah, because they've got lives as well. They'll understand the juggle that we're going through.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it was great to speak to you.
And
I'm going to just turn the recording off. So
thank you.
Thanks for those who listened.